Hi, thank you so much for tuning into the Inhospitality Podcast. I'm Ty Justice.
I'm Simba.
And this is the podcast where we talk about everything having to do with the world of hospitality in hotels by those who make it happen. So today we're going to start off at the water cooler talking a little bit about anonymous company surveys. And when I say anonymous, I go anonymous company surveys because they are not anonymous.
Because why do I have to punch my employee pin?
Right.
You know what I'm going to do next time? Find out the coworker that just grinds your gears. I'm going to put their employee number in and just write, management is pissing me off.
Cops are going to come in. They're going to talk to them like, why did you make so many death threats in your anonymous survey?
We're going to have to let you go.
This was bad.
I mean, I didn't know it was this easy.
Right, I know. Well, my story with anonymous company surveys, I never really did them because I didn't care. Because nothing's going to change.
Right.
You know nothing's going to change, unfortunately. But
that was supposed to be said behind closed doors.
So when I got at my Santa Monica property, the beach property, it was around that time, like a month or so after I got there, where they did anonymous company surveys. And even then, I'm a little jaded. I'm like, yeah, these aren't going to do anything. So management was rated at a 54%. So they got a failing rate by the employees. And once all that was done, HR brought everybody together. And this is another thing that ticked me off about it. I didn't show up for that meeting because I had worked a full week. And they're like, oh, it's a mandatory meeting on my day off. And I'm like, no, that would be a sixth day. But like, yeah, management says you have to come. I'm like, I got another job, dude. I got two jobs. I have this one and I work for the state of California.
Yeah.
So, what's going on? And, if I had to fight them and they're like, fine, whatever. We didn't know you had a second job. I'm like, dude, it's my day off. And you're saying I have to come in?
No.
I didn't show up, but people told me, like HR was like, guys, management, what's up with the low score? What happened? In front of the management, in front of everybody all at once. They were asking, what's going on, guys? In front of the employees who took the survey that rated the manager so poorly. And then finally HR, nobody said anything, of course. So HR,
they should have been like, it wasn't us.
I know. Why are you asking the employees about the employee survey? So then HR is like, okay, everybody out. All the management leave. And then they're like, okay, guys, so what's going on? And then everybody just unloaded about they never help us, they're bad, and listed off all the problems that they had with management and why they rated them so poorly, because it's 54% is a failing grade.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's terrible.
And do not pass go.
Exactly. Get new managers. So then the managers were invited back in, and then the employees were let out. And then I guess the managers were talked to as to why they got such low scores. And remember, this is still the anonymous survey, and HR is supposed to keep everything anonymous. And then one of the head bosses of the front desk came by and looked at one of the complaining front desk agents and goes, thanks, and then walked past.
It's probably because it was a specific incident.
Yeah, exactly. But why would you call people out like that if it's anonymous? And that just relates to retaliation. And there was retaliation by the office management after that to the front desk. And I'll explain that after. But so after that, and the bosses gave themselves promotions after that. They got promotions in the one toxic manager that sexually harassed me when I got there, and her direct management, who everybody complained about, and people would actually call off not to work with him. They're like, oh, it's just going to be him and I this Monday? He's like, nope, I'm out. And he would always call out when he had to work with this guy, because he always had a problem with the guy not doing his job right and not helping out and not doing that. So he would totally just leave him in the lurch so he could do it on his own. And so they got themselves promotions, and then to retaliate, they wouldn't let the employees at the front desk, and only the front desk, order through the restaurant. So because a lot of times if you're at a hotel, you'll order food through the restaurant, you get an employee discount, but you still pay for it. And I never did it. I always felt uncomfortable trying to make my crew work for me. Even if I'm buying something, I'm like, it's just a lot more work for them. But people would do it that were there all the time, that would work really early, didn't have time to go get food somewhere else, on their breaks.
I've definitely, there was during COVID, a $5, at the Hollywood location, a $5 meal,
Oh yeah.
And
that was really cool.
I would always be like, is it a good time? Here's the thing is that I would go out of the way to make that personal connection with the chef. Is it a good time to order right now, or are you guys busy?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, it's fine. Hey, what do you want? And I would literally just order the smallest thing, the one burger, and then they would load up fries. They would be like, what kind of burger you want? You want avocado? You want bacon? You want this? And I'd be like, oh, I mean, if it's okay, if it's one of the top sellers, then go ahead.
Right? Yeah, they were really cool there for that. Their kitchen staff was really nice. But no, going back, so they wouldn't let anybody at the front office order anymore, and it was only the front desk department. I didn't do it.
And this is the Santa Monica.
This is the Santa Monica location that did this. So at the Santa Monica location, the managers at the front desk stopped, and they claimed like, oh, well, it's just company policy now, and blah blah blah. Only for the front desk. Only for the front desk, and the one girl who complained and who the front office manager walked past and said, thanks, so-and-so. She was the one that did it a lot. She ordered there a lot, so it was kind of they did that to hurt her, but it hurt everybody that did it. Like, again, I didn't do it, but I was pissed because I'm like, how dare you retaliate for us being honest and being coaxed, into telling you what was actually going on at the front desk, and then you find out about it, and then you punish them?
Yeah.
That's so messed up. That's retaliation. You shouldn't be able to do that. But then the front office managers would write checks. They would write their orders without signing their name to the checks. So they could still get it. But it was the front desk agents specifically that they were disallowing. And,
that's brutal.
Yeah. And it's so petty. Exactly. And it's such bullshit. And it was wrong. Even HR was like, man, it's so messed up what they're doing to you guys. We're like, yeah, you're HR. Fix it.
Yeah.
But
why HR?
They would
Can you
whisper.
send that to me in an email?
They would. Exactly.
Yeah.
See, that's what we're going to talk about in the middle of this, why you never trust HR.
Yes.
But after that whole incident, finally, after a couple of weeks, I would complain. I'd be like, they can't do that. I go, that's messed up. If you're just doing it to one department, just to retaliate against them. And then finally
it's unfair employee treatment.
Exactly. And that one boss that came by told that girl, he's like, hey, we took care of it. And, we made sure that wouldn't happen. Is that okay? And I'm like, if it were me, I'd be like, get the fuck off me. What's wrong with you? You're the one that made this happen. Now you're trying to make it seem like, you're the good guy because, your ass is kind of getting caught. Get the hell out of here. But that was like the attitude with that. And it was so stupid. But that's why you never trust anonymous company surveys, because one of a couple of things will happen. You have to put your employee ID.
Yeah.
Which is like, then it's not anonymous because they know exactly who you are.
Yeah, this employee... That's who it is.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or they'll know the time stamp of when you did it. They'll check the cameras as to when you were writing out this thing, writing out your survey, doing it, and they'll check in the system when it was typed in, when it was submitted, exactly at what time. Or they'll catch you on the cameras doing it, and they can just match it up that way. There are a lot of different ways where it's never anonymous. They're lying to you. If a company says that your survey is anonymous, they are lying to you, especially in hotels, and they don't want to hear the truth.
Do not. Every time I do an employee survey, I'm like, it is great here. I love my job. I can't wait to grow in this company.
Knowing it's total nonsense. Yeah, no,
I've that way nobody comes for me and being like, you wrote this down.
At the same time, like, I write down things that they can't deny, and things that I'm like, well, if you have any problems with this, you can always just submit it straight to OSHA and see if they have anything to say about it. If what I said was wrong, did something I say, was it inaccurate? So I would always write very detailed things, in my company service, because I don't care after a while. It's like, if you treat your employees poorly, that's what you get. And a lot of times with me, I was reactive when it came to how they were treating other people. Again, with like the not letting one department order, like, I never did it, so it didn't affect me, but it affected my people. And I'm like, just why, just leave them alone.
It's just that
just do your job.
It's right
better.
there. So you're going to make them do the most.
Yeah.
You're stopping business one way too.
Yeah, exactly. And like, for the main topic, I think, of this episode, a good thing leading from that is never trust HR. Never trust HR.
Trust HR.
Not only
they're not your friends.
They're not your friends. They're there for the company. They're not for you. And treat it as though, how you're told, don't talk to a cop. Don't talk to police. Now, like, we have a good relationship with the police. I come from law enforcement. My grandfather's a deputy sheriff for 30 years, so I'm not like anti-cop. But at the same time, they have a certain agenda and a certain job to try and solve certain things and get cases closed. So you're always, you'll always say something that could be used against you later. They even tell you part of your Miranda rights can be used against you in a court of law, and they're absolutely right. Even if something is innocuous and innocent, it can be twisted to make you look guilty. So it's the same thing with HR, 100%. I don't care how close you are with HR. Never trust HR and treat them like they are the police. Say nothing.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Like, anybody who talks to HR, I'm like, cop. You're a cop.
Or narc.
Yes.
Narc.
Rat, narc, cop. Like, I'll always be like, be careful around them.
But at the same time, if there's sexual harassment, you have to go through them.
That's
like,
okay.
Then you have to report it. But always send emails and you CC multiple people. I remember one specific instance. Well, not one specific instance. This happened a few times that people confided in me when I was at my Santa Monica property. And HR would be so sneaky about this. And they did this with me too. But with them, like they would screw up, accounting would screw up people's child support arrangements. So like they're setting up child support because you have to be very careful with that. So the guys would set up their child support through their check and be like, okay, I need this amount sent out of my check because, I'll get in trouble with, child support services, they can really mess you up.
Prison.
Exactly. Like you can get a lot of trouble with that. So he would tell people, he would tell them specifically what to do. They'd be like, oh yeah, we'll handle it. They wouldn't handle it. There'd be email chains, and then the email chains would stop when there was a hiccup or a problem. And this person, would try to be like, okay, look, guys, I really need this taken care of. It wasn't taken out of my last check. You guys told me like it would be set up. I set it up through you guys. What's going on? And then finally someone would kind of like walk up to them and be like, hey, yeah, no, about that. We kind of messed up and blah, blah, blah. But they would verbally whisper it to him instead of putting it in an email, because HR would tell them, stop the email. Don't do that because that's a chain of evidence.
I've done this, had the same thing happen to me. I had my time clock cut one time, like, and I knew it. I was like, that did not happen. Like I did not take a break that day. Like you guys just don't want to have to pay the penalty.
Right.
So I screenshotted it and sent it to the front office manager and was like, on this date I did not take a break. Your manager kept me there when I told him I needed to leave to not get the violation, and they kept me there. I'm not being like penalized for something that I try to prevent. So I like went into the office like after I sent it, like probably a couple hours. And she tried to verbally talk to me about it. She's like, hey, what's with this email? What are you trying to say in it? And I'm like, go ahead and reread the email. And it's like, and then you can get back to me. And I just walked out because I'm like, I'm not having the conversation. Like, you're going to send it in a paper trail.
Exactly.
So then I had to send another one. So sent 2 emails in order to get it fixed.
Yeah.
And then it was, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened with the system. I'll make sure that I'll back pay.
Human resources is a misnomer. It has nothing to do with humanity, humans, employees. It has to do with the corporation and protecting the corporation at all costs. And even if it means sacrificing you.
What legal issues are we looking at?
Right. I know. And they always play dumb, like, oh, I don't know what happened. Like, shut up. Like, I've had times where I've asked them to just management to email me sections of our company, our employee policy. Yeah. And they're like, oh, no, don't do that. Don't. And HR would stop them from emailing it to me. They're like, oh, no, you can go look it up on your own. I'm like, yeah, but I'm asking for your help in this matter. No, you can go look it up on your own. And then all this nonsense, because it would leave a paper trail as to what I was asking and what I was asking for specifically. And yeah, they can be, especially the Santa Monica property. She was a very physical representation of gluttony and greed and all that. And you usually don't want to judge a book by its cover, but you're like, oh, this person in HR just fits that stereotype. What's going on, man? Like, I don't want to be this person, but you're making it difficult for me not to be.
But the shoe is fitting too well, Cinderella.
The other part of this is like when it comes to illegal things that HR covers up, we were going to talk about meal penalties. Because like a meal penalty in California, let's say you work over 5 hours, because in California, anything over 5 hours or below, you have to take your lunch
before the 5th hour.
Before the 5th hour of work. After that, your company has to automatically pay you a meal penalty, which is $20.
Yeah. And it's like your hourly rate, you get that extra, and then you just get paid your regular hourly.
Exactly. And you have a story about that, because it's happened where companies will illegally say, oh, well, your punch didn't work, or the machine didn't work. There was a malfunction in the system, and we didn't clock, your lunchtime, and they try to readjust your punch or readjust your lunch before the 5th hour because, they just don't want to pay you the $20. That's illegal, but they have to say something went wrong with the system, and they have all these ways of dancing around it so you don't get it. But they do have to get your approval because it's illegal for them to change it.
Yes, and I knew that. So that's how I knew. I went and I saw my paycheck stub, and I was like, on this day, like, I know you guys did not let me out on time. Like, I tried to tell them I need to go.
Yeah.
And then I found the 30-minute punch in there. And what was crazy is that I screenshotted it and I sent it to the front office manager, and I was like, I did not take a break this day. How a meal got punched in here is beyond me, but I know for sure I never punched out for a meal on this day. So I don't know who edited it or who was under the impression. I'm like, but it needs to be fixed. And then I went to the back, and she was like, what are you trying to say? And I was like,
instead of responding to your email.
Instead of writing back in the email, she was like, what are you trying to say? I don't get your email. And I was like, I knew I was clear on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there was no way to, I was like, go ahead, reread it, but it's what the email is saying. It's pretty plain as day. And I walked out because I was like, I'm not having this conversation. And it was crazy because like the next day or like 2 days later, I was at work, and one of the bellmen comes into the back office and is like, hey, to another manager, and was like, it's really weird. I know I punched out late on my break, but I know I punched out. I went up to the security and did the whole thing. He's like, I even ran to do it to make sure, trying to make sure I punched out on time. He's like, and now when I'm looking in the app, because we could look at it, like, we could follow it too.
Yeah, because there's a certain app on your phone that you can use to track your clock-ins, clock-outs, and how much money you're getting.
Yeah, as for the managers, can follow it too.
Yeah, exactly.
They can follow it, which only managers have the access to even adjust anything on it.
Right.
So that's another thing. Like, they're the only ones who can do it. Like, and your punches aren't getting lost. I'm like, oh, that's so weird. I'm like, one of my punches got randomly messed with on this day.
I remember when you guys were talking about that.
Yeah, and he was like, what? And then another manager who was like a newer, she's like, what are you trying to say? And I was like, I'm saying someone's messing with our time clock. I always see a manager in the back here. I was like, with it up, always see her looking at it. And I was like, and how is my time and his time like messed with? And I was like, I was like, there's someone else too. And I was like, I heard them talking about it. Yeah. And she was like, that's a serious offense. Like, you could actually get fired for that. She's like, I know someone at my last property. She's like, that's how I got moved up, because they got fired for it. And I was like, hey, all I'm saying is something's going on. Yeah. I'm not saying it's you. I'm saying something's going on though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
No, it's true, and they would do a lot of that. I remember that was happening for a minute, because it was a bunch of employees that were noticing that, like, what is going on with our punches? And they were being allegedly illegally adjusted off. Yeah. So the company wouldn't have to pay somebody $20.
Hey, I'm telling you, I know that I did not punch out.
Yeah, and that's it's true. You know, you always kept track of everything, which is good. Yeah, and that's one thing you have to do.
The other guy.
For him to notice it, though, for a bellman to notice it must have been obvious.
And he had been there for like 13 years.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, he's been here a long time. For him to come into the back office and tell you like something happened to his time, like.
Yeah. The Hollywood property needs to be investigated by OSHA. There's so many violations. My God, OSHA, if you're watching, please check them out. But it's one of those things where the company will do everything just to get out of like certain like little penalties.
Yes. And I know that sometimes, because I know it was at the Beverly Hills location I was at too, that the managers, if they follow and keep under like a certain amount, like not doing too much overtime, not hitting these meal penalties, they get an extra check at the end of the year.
I mean, okay, but it's like if you guys illegally do all this stuff, you're going to get fined way more than that bonus is going to be. And
some of them are just risking it because they think we aren't paying attention.
I know, and that's the thing. You do have to pay attention. We'll wrap that up at the end, talk a little bit more about that, because I think that's a good point to finish on, the strength of just being aware. Yeah. But going back to talking about not trusting HR, I remember, and that's the thing. It's especially at the Hollywood property, there's a lot of intimidation. Yeah. There's a lot of employee intimidation, unfortunately. And I remember there's one girl that was there she was a front desk agent for like a couple of months, but she had like wild hair. She was like, she wanted to take everybody to HR. She hated everybody. And she liked me.
Hey, wait, I was going to say, me and you were the only ones that made it through the cut.
Right?
Yes, I had left like probably like a month and a half after she started.
She was... Yeah, that's right.
But I know she was like very curious after I left, like, why did I know she was like still asking like a lot of people for a cool minute. But for as far as like her, I know she reported everybody. I'm uncomfortable by him, her, them. I don't like them.
She was a little wild, yeah.
Me and you were the only ones that
she liked us.
Yeah.
She liked us.
But to be fair, I only worked with her a couple of times, but during those couple of times I'd be like, oh, I'll show you.
Yeah, because nobody wanted to train her, and the management didn't want to pay any of the agents to train the new agent because management wasn't training her.
She did answer her phone in front of the guests, though.
Yeah, I know. She had some interesting tendencies. She, of course,
there was no like helping her in that situation. Like,
for you to kind of mess up as a front desk agent at the Hollywood property, you kind of have to really screw up to get fired. And she was
all like, "Hold on one moment." Yeah, girl, I'm at work. Yeah, like the manager. She did it in front of the manager too. I was like, you don't get.
I know, this is not right. I mean, like, we're kind of, we've been in it. We're jaded and lax, but even then, it's like, dude, go behind the pillar. Go behind somewhere.
No, she's got a couple more seasons than we do. I feel like
she was a little older than us, yeah. But she had never done hotels, I don't think. So that was kind of it. So it was kind of
with any job.
I know. Yeah. You don't answer your phone in front of a customer or a guest.
You don't answer your phone in front of your boss.
Yeah. Oh, but But I remember one of our agents would do kind of like one of our agents that she didn't like, and they did not get along. Cause like she tried to correct her Spanish.
The little one.
Yeah, and then this girl's like, "Why are you correcting me in front of, I guess, correcting my Spanish?"
Yes.
Like she took that personal, but it was kind of disrespectful.
She came in like, I'm gonna talk to the front office manager, and had like a whole letter written because she did this, and I was like, is that what you spend the shift doing? Both of you guys spend the shift doing little shit like that. That's why you guys are.
But the reason that I bring up HR and this girl, she wasn't a bad person. She was quirky, but she just kind of didn't get the rules of it and kind of like the foundation of it.
She just wanted unemployment.
But I guess, but like because I was talking to her, I would try to, because like we got along, and I would tell her a lot of these things, and I would try to like talk her down from like, I'm like, look, girl, I go, you got to have allies. So I'm like, I'm not going to be here with you all the time. You got to, be careful with these folks, and, make sure if you're going to go to HR, first of all, don't trust HR. Second of all, look, everybody's on the verge here. And I told her, everybody's on the verge of quitting. And we were at the time. It was actually very intense. And I go, everybody's like 1 foot out the door. Everybody's ready to leave this place. I go, so everybody's going to be very on edge. I go, try not to take that personally. But I mean, you got to remember, and what you've experienced here is very little of what we've experienced. And it's probably, you'll understand over time. But, everybody here is almost ready to quit. So everybody's already on edge because of everything we've gone through. She goes to HR, and not to report me, but she was talking to them like when they were like close to firing her. She's like, yeah, well, he says everybody's going to want to quit anyway, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? And then HR brings me in. I'm like, well, shit. I go, this is why you can't help people. And, I'm like, look, I did tell him, I go, people are overtaxed here. I go, people are, stressed out. I go, well, she must have misinterpreted that as everybody wants to quit. Everybody did want to quit, and we all did. So, within a few months of that, we were all gone.
There was another one who was working in the back on the phones. She had a similar situation to where, like, one, she gave me red flags because the first day she came in, one of the managers had her sweet little dog in the back that everybody loved, and she was like, is the dog out of the room? I cannot do dogs. Like, made her remove the dog or tie the dog up because you know how they could just run, like, the dog had always been there. But anyway, I was like, red flag. She doesn't like dogs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that was the, she was a reservationist, right?
Yes.
In the back, yeah.
In the, well, with, on the phones though, in the back office, in the manager office. But not all the way in the back, but like.
Manager?
She was only here for like 2 or 3 months. She came from Vegas. She wasn't a manager, but she worked like in our back office.
Okay.
Where the front office manager is.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we first started the PBX.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes.
So many people came and went there.
Yeah, like I remember she would always sit in the back.
Do you know her name?
I'll be able to describe to you. Okay. Yeah, once I tell you, you know. So, and some of our other coworkers I didn't like sit there and blab to her. Oh, this is wrong and this is wrong. If she told me something, I'd be like, welcome to work. Like, welcome to the
hotel. Yeah.
But some of them, the other ones, were telling her about like schedule changes and how they have it a certain way and how they blah blah blah. And basically, like, there were a couple employees who I feel like manipulated the schedule, but unfortunately, it just happens. And she was like telling her basically on how she does it and da da da. And I just do whatever schedule I get. I don't complain.
Right.
And one time she like went to go get a day off, right? Like, and they were like, oh, hey, like, I gave you Super Bowl weekend. They're like, we gave you Super Bowl weekend off. That is a almost not guaranteed weekend. It's one of our busiest. We have a big Super Bowl party that happens. Like, we are going to need to be staffed. So on Friday, she wasn't scheduled. Thursday, she's like, I want to leave at 2 p.m.
Jeez.
Like, in the back. Yeah, she was there 3 months. Like, so she was in the back basically doing phones, right?
Right.
But so they were like, on Thursday, she wanted to leave early and head out. And they were like, oh, well, we need you till 5 because why are you going to come in from like 10 to 2? Like, you're only going to come in for 4 hours. He's like, you're leaving in prime time. Check in is 3 o'clock. So, we're going to kind of need you during that time. Yeah. And then he's like, not a lot of people got the weekend off. And unfortunately, like, you're the only one who got the weekend off technically. And he's like, so I won't be able to let you out early. And she blew up. She's like, I'm going to HR. Everybody in this front office already wants to go turn all you guys in. Like, but she like totally went off on the wrong manager. Like, for sure. Like, he had like, he was one of the good ones, the ones on our side. I was like, ooh. And the thing is like, I walked in like on this all happening, and she was just like railing, like at the top of her lungs, like, I'm going to HR, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's coming with me. This whole front desk has my back. Like, I'm like, ooh, I don't know about that. Oh.
If that's who I'm thinking about, no, the front desk did not have her back.
Yeah. And I was like, and then basically like the manager was just like, they're like this.
Do what you got to do.
I mean, if you want to go to HR, we can go to HR right now. He basically was like, let's go right now. Let's like, how about we have this conversation in front of HR, because right now you're out of here and I need you out of here. Like, she quit like 3 days later.
Jeez.
Yeah. I was like, it was bad, but she was basically like throwing everybody like, oh, we're all going to go to HR and everybody's going to come with me. And I was like, so, and that's when I walked back out.
First of all, crazy girl. First of all, Vegas, look, we don't trust HR first and foremost. We've been here long enough to know that. And second of all, we don't know you.
Yeah, I was like, you've been here 3 months, girl.
Yeah.
Like, I shared my food with you, sure, but I don't know you like that.
We're not blood brothers. You know
I was like, I don't have another job yet, and I'm not going to HR.
Exactly. Not yet. Once I have another job, tear the place up. But
still won't go to HR.
Right.
But
yeah, that's, some people like would come in just hot like that and just like, look, I understand, you know,
because
when you have
you
problems.
Didn't get let out 3 hours early.
Well, okay, some people come up like that, but see, people don't think. You know what you do if you have to get out of work like that? You just say you're sick, fake an illness, do something, like, but don't like blow up like that.
And
like,
here was the thing is like, also too, she had asked the front office manager. I told her, ask the manager that does our schedules.
Yeah.
She went ahead and asked the front office manager. She said no. So then she went and asked this manager again, but he's like, she already told you no. Yeah. How can I tell you?
You already went to the top. Know? You went to my manager. I can't cut her. And then that's when
she was just like, boom, I'm taking you to HR. I'm taking, everybody in the front desk is going with me. Everybody's already been talking, da-da-da. And I was like, ooh, girl, you don't need I'm gonna go back to the front desk.
I don't know you right now. Don't bring me down.
I was like, ooh, don't say my name. I did not feed you any of that information for sure. So.
Exactly. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Not trusting HR is one thing. Not trusting human resources. Remember, just as a quick recap, think of them as cops. Think of them as a police. Whatever you say, no matter how innocent or innocuous you think it is, will be used against you later on. That's just what they do. They take down everything, whether you're in the right or in the wrong. They will take it down, and you may think they're completely on your side. They're going to use that against you at some point. That's just what they do. And it's a way for HR just to keep a dossier on you, so whenever they need to get rid of you, they can. And the second half of that, I think, is important to wrap up on, is what you would do, which was take copious notes and keep track of everything. You know, it's hard, you know, to do that because like you just want to trust, you know, you just want to be like, look, I just want to trust the system. I want it to work flawlessly. But the system in any corporation, especially in hospitality and hotels, is set up against you. Yeah. So the human resources department is not your friend, no matter how friendly they are, no matter how many cupcakes they give away, how many cookies they bring, how many pizza parties they give you instead of a raise. No matter what, they're not your friends. And because you would keep copious notes having to do with your upsells. Yes. So that was always really good. But like, I was
very detailed. I was like, I put it under this name, this amount.
Yep.
This many nights.
Yeah.
Cool. Blah, blah, blah. I would always go and check because they'd be like, oh, well, if they ask for a refund, we will not pay you that commission.
Yeah.
Why that was my fault, I'm not sure.
Right.
But whatever, I'll go with it. Yeah. Like, I still even gave that leeway. And I would always go back every 2 weeks and be like, okay, it wasn't refunded. It wasn't refunded. Because you guys, they say it's only a 2-week mark.
Yeah, it's and different hotels skirt those rules too. But
I was like, it wasn't past the 2-week mark.
Right, exactly, and it's
so
good to keep.
I will expect it.
But it's good to keep notes like that just so they can't screw you over because your hotel will your finance department, your accounting department will let things slide if you do. Because if it saves them money, it saves them money. They'll usually certain hotels will try to be honest about it. I will, I'll say that they'll try to do that.
It depends who's doing it.
Yeah, it just kind of depends on who's there, and
I believe there's good managers that are like, no, give them their money.
Yeah, no, that we had good managers that tried to do that. Yeah, for sure. No, we had managers that tried to fight for us, but after a while, it's like
they get the target put on their back.
Yeah, exactly, which sucks, and then they got to protect themselves because, especially in union hotels, if you're a manager and you're In a union hotel, you have no protection, even though your employees kind of do, which kind of sucks, which kind of sets them against you in a way that is unfortunate. But a good way to protect yourself is always send emails, always send response emails. And if they don't,
writing.
And if they don't respond to you, send another email saying, please explain this and this and this to me. I would like a response. I would have to say I want a response in email form, please.
Yes.
Not please do not, with all due respect, please do not approach me and speak to me verbally. I want to have record of this. And you can CC some important people like the GM and all that stuff. Just let them know.
I would say, like, if you have an issue and you send a paper trail to your manager, watch them scramble.
Yeah.
Watch them scramble. Yeah. Because they're going to be like, oh, it was such a problem. Let me fix it right now. Like, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, that's what I wanted, so.
Yeah, because they will try to sweep things under the rug. It's unfortunate, but I've seen it happen many times at my previous property, at my last property, which was the Santa Monica property. That would happen a lot, and they would do very sneaky, illegal things that way. Allegedly sneaky. No, not allegedly sneaky. Allegedly illegal.
Allegedly illegal.
And it was. And they
would
would...
we say allegedly?
Right. This is going to be hard to edit. But, allegedly illegal things that I would see them do that are just very shady to protect themselves because they knew they were in the wrong or could be in the wrong later on in terms of a lawsuit. But, it's important to take a lot of notation, take a look at your check stubs, make sure everything it goes along properly and protect yourself. And make sure that, there are paper trails. Even if you think things are simple and like, oh, it's easy, it's best to document and to have things in your favor because later on it might come down to you just having this documentation to save you.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't think about it. It's not something you feel like you have to think about, but in hospitality and hotels, always document everything through email and make sure that they respond. If they refuse to respond to you through email, make sure that you address them not responding to you through email. It's just something you have to do to protect yourself. We've seen too many times people get screwed over. People would be taken to the side and answers given that aren't technically perfectly legal or kosher,
right?
When they should have been responded in an email, so you can respond accordingly. But unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. So always protect yourself by taking copious notes to make sure you are in the right. Always make sure you're in the right if you're fighting for something too, because that one woman that would just throw everybody to HR was not right most of the time. And
HR is like, so what could we do to help you
stop coming here so much?
Do we need an isolated position or
I know, like, can you work from home in hotels? Does that work somehow?
Can you answer the phone over there?
I know, but unfortunately that did happen. But it did teach me a lot, like even in the most innocent ways when you're trying to help a coworker, it can set you up for failure.
Yeah.
Just by saying the truth. And HR isn't there to hear the truth. They want to hear a lot of lies and and fluff and things that aren't true because they're not in the game to change it.
Yeah.
They're in the game to keep the status quo.
I would say definitely agree. I have a coworker at the location I'm at to where like anybody and everybody he tells like all of this tea to. Like he can meet you the first day, tells all of the tea. I'm like,
who is that character in Recess? The one that was the rat. You remember what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Like I'll throw a graphic up.
Dude, he like you're like it's gonna catch up to you. Like it's gonna not that I know you were trying to do it to be nice, but I always have like in the fact that like I'm always careful about what I tell each person because I'm like they will run. They will tell the minute that they can tell.
And it doesn't matter if you're trying to be honest. Like I said before, it doesn't matter. And you got to be careful
even
how
if
you help
are
people.
Honest.
Yeah, you got to be careful how you help others. I mean, it sucks to say that because you just want to be like me. I'm just like, look, I try to give people the straight skinny on what's going on. Be like, look, this is the way it is.
Yeah.
This is the way it's got to be. This is why you got to, kind of hold your tongue a little bit or say it in a certain way that's not going to get you in trouble because, A, B, and C is going to happen to you.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you do that, people will run that even though you're being honest. You know what I mean?
No, I'm like, sometimes you just have to, you'll get through it.
I know. Sucks.
Yeah.
Sucks. Yeah, that's the job. But it's something we've learned. Remember, HR, cops, don't talk to them. Protect yourself and always take a lot of notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's pretty good for this episode. That's all we have time for this time. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Inhospitality Podcast. I'm Ty Justice.
I'm Simba.
And we'll see you at check-in.